Hi everyone, it's Clarice. This is Clarice Reads, and today I'm just kind of going to ramble about books and reading and life and things. There are just a few things I kind of want to talk about, but that don't necessarily warrant their own video, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna talk about them today. First, I have kind of a mini book haul because a couple of weeks ago, the Manila International Book Fair happened. I bought like 3 books. One of the books I bought was The Art of War, which is just a book that a lot of people tell you that you should read, and I feel like the lessons that are taught here would be very helpful to me now that I'm going to probably start working soon, if that makes sense. And I know it seems kind of small, it's probably abridged, though the size is kind of what made me want to buy it because it looks so cute there, and I was like, it's so tiny, it's The Art of War, it's cheap, I'll buy it. Because I mean, I've been really meaning to read this book anyway, so might as well. One of the other books I bought in the book fair was Colorless, Tsukuru, Tazaki and his Years of Pilgrimage by Haruki Murakami, which is actually the first Haruki Murakami book I ever bought. The first one also I ever read because I finished reading this a few days after the book fair. It's mainly the story of this young man having to kind of confront the ghost of his past and figure out some stuff. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm glad I kind of knew going into this book not to expect it to feel normal, for it to feel kind of surreal. So reading this was definitely an experience. I'll talk about my actual thoughts more when I actually review this book, but generally I'm pretty glad that I finally got around to reading Murakami because it has been a long time coming. And the last book I bought in the book fair was The Secret Loves of Geek Girls, which is kind of this non-fiction collection of a bunch of different stories written by a bunch of different geek girls, I guess, and they're all related to romance. And it just seemed like a cute book, and when I read it, it was a cute book, but it was also extremely honest and diverse, and again, I'll talk about it more when I actually review it. But reading this was also quite an experience. So as you notice, I bought like 3 books, and I actually ended up finishing 2 of them less than a week after I bought them, which I'm really happy about because, well, over a year ago, I actually made that video talking about my TBR and my plans to reduce it to 0. And then for a while, I kind of made those videos updating you on my TBR, but I didn't really stick with them. Mainly because, well, I am still trying to reduce my TBR, but I had to at one point take a step back and try to evaluate exactly why I was doing this in the first place and if my goal to reduce my TBR was the proper solution to the problem that I actually identified. I mean, generally I wanted to reduce my TBR to 0 because I wanted to end up with a book collection only of books that I loved. And unread books don't really have a place in a book collection like that because how can you love a book that you haven't already read? And while I don't think there's anything wrong with me trying to reduce my TBR to 0, I think at one point I was focusing more on the numbers than I was on the actual reasons why I decided to start doing that. So I stopped tracking the numbers and I decided to instead kind of focus on habits that would eventually help me reach that book collection that I want. Habits like being very critical about which books I plan to keep in my collection. Habits like just simply not buying as many books. Habits like buying books digitally or borrowing them first before deciding whether they deserve to actually be on my book collection. Habits like reading the books that I buy immediately after I buy them, so that even if I'm adding them to my TBR, I'm removing them immediately. Because I feel that even though enforcing these habits would make me reach a 0 TBR slower, they would still eventually help me get there, and not only that, also ensure that I'm able to maintain the book collection that I want when I'm able to get it. So even though since I set that as a goal, my TBR probably only went down by maybe 8 books. Again, I haven't been counting, but I think it was around 8 books. I'm pretty proud of my progress because while my TBR size hasn't decreased by as much as I expected it to at this point, I'm also really just not buying as many books anymore. I'm really buying more digital than physical books. I've also given away a lot of books since then, so I'm relatively proud of myself, and I guess I'm just going to continue moving in that direction. I'm also pretty proud because usually at this point in the year I am buying a lot of books, mainly because actually last September 28th was my birthday, and normally on my birthday I buy a lot of books. But this year I didn't actually do that. I didn't actually ask for anything for my birthday, in fact, but normally I would actually just buy a big pile of books and then ask my parents to pay for it, and I didn't do that this year, and I have no desire to, and I'm actually really happy about that. But yeah, as I said, it was recently my birthday, and I'm freaking 22. even though I know I probably look like 15 or something. And normally on my birthdays, the day happens and I don't feel any older than I did the day before, which makes sense because it's really just a day more than the day before. But this year, I really did feel it. I felt that, oh shit, I'm really growing older. I guess it's just because this is a big period of transition in general. I mean, I'm graduating in a couple of weeks. I'm technically unemployed. I'm applying for jobs. I'm going to job interviews. A couple of days before my birthday, I went to a job interview. And the day before my birthday, I sent a job application. We're looking for places for me to move depending on the job that I get. And it's really weird and exciting and stressful. A lot of change was really happening in my life on my birthday this year. Even outside of jobs and graduation and stuff, a lot of change has been happening in my personal life as well. And I don't really know what to say about that except that just things are changing in my life. And it's pretty exciting. And I'm starting to get old. And I actually feel it this time. So anyway, that's been life for me lately. Feel free to tell me how life has been for you lately, or even just to tell me what book you've been reading, or what your ideal book collection is. I don't really know. I talked about a lot of stuff today. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!